Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness business with a servant's heart. With host Steve Ramona ready. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so fired up to have you join us today. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the idea of doing work in business and life with a servant's heart and what impact you create and what difference you make in your world. Let's start with your world. Don't worry about the big world. Somebody else will take care of that. The other thing, we created this podcast to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you. When you listen to my guest today, I've already been inspired. I only spent 5 minutes with her. You guys going to get a pad and paper ready. And while you're listening, I want you, and this is really important, this is your call to action. Think about how you're going to serve yourself and others today and what impact you create today. And that today is the key word, because I've had people go, I listened to your podcast and I waited a month. And that's okay. They start a month later, but imagine if you can make a difference in somebody's life today. Just think about that while you're listening. And in today's episode is proudly sponsored by the Pantheon Alliance. Imagine being part of a large community of thought leaders who want to change the world with their expertise and their highly successful opportunities. If you want more information on the community, this community, Pantheon Alliance, just reach out to me and we'll get you started. And I'm rarely speechless. I'm speechless right now because impact, what comes to my head. But finances are a pain in the ass. And I don't swear and I apologize, but they can be, especially tax time just ended. I just finished my taxes and finished to do it. We have all this, but we need it and we need to manage it. And my guest today has got such a cool way of helping you with your finances. I want you to make sure you have a pad and paper ready. Teshra, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Steve. I'm so excited.
I am too, because the servant's heart, as we talked about before the show, is not a part of finances. You talked to me before the show about digital chaos. Jump into that.
Digital chaos. So as far as finances go, we all know we have our bank statement, our savings statement, our credit card statements, our mortgage statements. It's all digital. It's all, how many people get paper statements anymore? But even if you did get paper statements, it's still all digital. You know, it's at your fingertips at any time. So I love giving the scenario of, imagine if you had this massive big desk and you took 1 month of all of those statements and just piled them up everywhere, right? If you're doing well, you also have real estate, mortgage statements, you have, whatever it is, passive income, all kinds of other. So there's a lot going on. That all, if you took it and you put it into the computer, it's still digital chaos unless it's organized and unless you know where to find it and unless it's in one spot. So you go to your B of A to check your personal, you go to your Chase to check your business, you go to your 3 different credit cards to check this. How many different logins do you have? They're not talking to each other. I'm talking about one space where everything's listed. Now, of course, investments can stay apart from that because the investment companies usually have their stuff is so great. And so love to keep that separate. But when it comes to the day cash flow and inflow, the digital chaos is, if you can't look at one spot to get any information that you need, then you're probably in chaos mode, but you don't even realize it.
Oh boy. Yeah. Speaking my language, our audience, I'm sure you're raising your hand too. Like, I know what you mean. And we had a great comment, and you made a great comment. We had a great talk about you're a financial organizer, and yeah. Google thinks you're a file cabinet. You're much more than that. Obviously.
Not for long.
Yeah. How important is looking at your numbers on a regular basis?
So looking at your numbers on a regular basis, when you are very organized, to me, I have this theory and I have this card and it's called must. And I say that it's not that you should, because should means to go into debt. Must means likely to happen. So you must spend an hour a week with your money. I think that looking at your numbers 1 hour a week is all you need for your decision making. So you're sitting down and you are categorizing things, you're making sure everything's up to date, looking at your profit and loss, your balance sheet real quick, reconciling all of your accounts, which can be done very, very quickly if you know how to do it. And then you can look at it and just say, okay, here's where I'm at right now. Next week, we can look at it again. Or more importantly, all of a sudden you got a big decision to make. I want to quit my W-2 job in a year. How do I do this? I go where I'm organized and I can look and see, this is how much I've made. Here's my expenses. How could I cut down? All of a sudden your information is right there. You don't have to go out and collect everything. You don't have to try to remember what bills you pay. You don't have to remember if you have extra passive income coming in. It's all right there. So to specifically answer your question, for overall, it's 1 hour a week, but then only when you need to make some, great decisions.
Yeah, that's fine. That's easy. You made it simple.
Oh, easy. Yeah. The important part though, also to remember though, is that even if you're not making major decisions along the way, that 1 hour a week has to be set in stone. So hence we're going to come back to must again. You have to go and sit down the same way you go to your therapist, the same way you go to the gym, the same way us women get our nails done. You have to sit down. You can't put it off. It has to be scheduled in your calendar absolutely regularly, and preferably at a time when you're fresh. Don't do it if at the end of the day you're exhausted. Don't do it at 9 o'clock at night. That's not going to happen. And it needs to be fresh.
Great points. Great points. And by the way, I'm glad you said us ladies, because I definitely go get my nails done. So I'm glad you said
exactly. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is that one of the reasons it needs to be first and prioritized when you're fresh is because most people will say, my job is the most important thing in my life besides family, obviously, right? Or the business that I run is the most important thing in life. I'm going to argue that neither of those are true. I think your personal finances is the most important business you will ever run, because you're going to run it your entire life. And it is what fuels every single decision you make. Every decision you make comes back to money. It really does. And you have to have that as your most important business. We need to get back to realizing that personal is the foundation and personal is the most important.
Well, your title of your company fits this so well. Do You LLC.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because it's so cool.
Yeah, thank you. So when I was growing up, I heard a lot of you can be anything, you can be, whatever you want to do is fine. Just go out and be you, and, don't let anybody change you. But then I would sit there and I would have these conversations with myself, and I'd say, well, I'm this tiny little 5'2.25". I like my little quarter. I have short issues. So my 5'2.25" little, frame here. What if I wanted to be a world sumo wrestler? That's probably not going to happen. I really don't believe that you can be anything you want to be. So on that note, I think you were created to be somebody very, very specific. We were all created to give back to this world something so extraordinary. Everybody will talk about the fact that you're unique and you're like nobody else, and don't copy anybody else, be authentic. But then do we really talk about we're able to do something that nobody else can do? Right? Whatever situation we're in, wherever we're sitting. So you take that, but then you have to move it into the do factor. I can't sit on the couch and say, okay, I'm not going to be a sumo wrestler, but what I am going to do is I'm going to be a ballerina, if that's what you want, if that's what you think you're created to do. Well, if I'm going to do ballerina, I can't sit on my couch. I got to go to practice. I have to go take classes, and then I have to go to practice again. And then I have to go take classes again. It's this ongoing action. So the company name Teshra Do You, I would love for people to put their names in there. So it could be Steve Do You. And then whatever that means, it could be Steve Do You in your finances, Steve Do You in your creativity, Steve Do You in your difference. So that phrase just kind of encompasses, or even I have a money do you, I have a knowledge do you, I have a difference do you. So they're just a few pillars of life, but it all comes back to that action. And that only you can do what you can do. There's nobody like you.
I love that, because too many people, especially in coaching, cookie cutter, here's your sales cookie. No, introvert's different than extrovert. A female is different than a male. We're just different. That's not a bad thing.
We're so different. Yeah. And that's a really good thing, because you could take 5 people and they could all be the CEO of a car company, but they're still going to do it absolutely different, because they're all bringing their expertises, how they were created, their passions, things that they hate. So it's pretty amazing. Humans are pretty incredible.
I love what you just said, because the most important thing is they all could be successful too.
Yeah. Right.
That's the do you doesn't mean do you can be successful. Now, if you're not, has nothing to do with the do you. It's just do what you're passionate about, right?
Right. And again, it falls into that, because success is different for different people. Some people want to live off $1,000 a month on the beach, and that's ultimate freedom for them. Other people want $10 million in stuff, and I've seen both worlds. So they both have pros and cons, but they both can be complicated, and you need to be just doing what success means to you.
Yeah, you start
success
limiting
to you. There's another one.
Success to you. There you go. Write that down.
Yeah,
that's a real
exactly.
good one. Because too many coaches that I've talked to, being very honest here, limit people. Like I said, I was in a sales, and it was like, you should get a sale on the first call. I'm like, I don't make that kind. So I understand we've got to wrap this stuff around each person. My personal finances are different than yours, and so many different people. Yeah, and that's where you come in to solve that. So as I did some stalking of you in a beautiful way, just gist came up. I'm so curious what that's about. Talk to me about that.
So it was pretty funny, because as I've grown up through life, I have 5 children, and I was very much of you need to do your stuff, you need to do what you're supposed to be doing. And then I stepped into this space of a little bit of having to be a cheerleader. You can do it, everything's going to be great, and it just kept going like this. And I started to realize I'm not a cheerleader. That's not me. So I'm someone that tells you need to get your stuff together. So just is basically get your SHIT together. And I had somebody, I remember the conversation. I was at a Pay It Forward multifamily investing seminar 2 years ago in April in Denver. And I was talking to this gentleman, absolutely amazing man. And I was telling him my dilemma. How do I get this? But I can't really put that on my business card, but that's what I'm about. Let's just get your stuff together. Let's do it now. Let's figure it out. Let's just do it. And he goes, why don't you just put GIST on your card? And I said, GIST? What's GIST? And he says, get your SHIT together. So that's how that came about. So
that's cool, because that's what personal finance is all about.
Yeah.
And that's what you do.
You got to start, you got to get a foundation, but then you got to keep going. So once you get it together, you still have to get in there and keep going, because again, it's about the doing. And I have a lot of clients who invest with me. I create their systems for them. And then 9 months I check in and they're like, oh, I haven't touched it for the last 8 months. I'm like, no. Let's back up a second. We specifically gave you something that's a tool for you to use. Again, 1 hour a week. So yeah.
What you make finances are complex. You just talked about, I'm listening to statements here, as you get older, they get more and more. I don't know why we do that, but that's the nature.
Right.
When you come in, what's the journey of a client with you?
So the journey looks like, at first, I want to talk to them a little bit about what's keeping them up at night. What is their urgency? So some people might say, oh, I want to retire, but I feel like I don't have enough time left. Some people might say, I have no idea how much money I spend, or I make all this hard-earned money and I don't know where it goes. So it kind of depends on what their urgency is. So then the conversation will go, okay, if you know you want to retire early, then do you know where you're at? And if they say yes, then I ask them, well, how do you know that? And there are a lot of people who I've turned away as clients because they are very organized. They already use a Quicken system or a QuickBooks system or spreadsheets, and they could tell you down to the penny what they earn and where things go. So they don't need my services because they've got it organized. They just may need somebody to talk to about how to get that going, or retiring early. What are some passive investment things that we can do? Who are some people we can talk to about maybe life insurance or, other aspects? So then I have a whole group of people who I have vetted, who I can plug you in with those different people who might be able to help you and answer your questions that I'm not an expert in. So, or if they find that they don't know where their money's going, again, they have digital chaos all over their desk, right? It needs to be organized. I say, okay, let's look at what you have. Some people will have one checking account, one bank account, one savings account, and one credit card account. When you have those three things, and these people never swipe their cards, they just live very frugally, right? I can set you up very, very quickly, very, very reasonably, and teach you how to use this QuickBooks Online system that I'm going to show you 3 to 5 things of what you need to use only, not the whole gamut. I'm not going to get you certified in QuickBooks. I'm just going to show you what you specifically need to know. Okay. Or if you take somebody, let's say you just started a business 10 years ago and you have 43 credit cards, which not that they're maxed out or anything, they're just there, right? You use them to start a business. And then you have interrelated families that you've blended. So you have more than one bank account, you have 20 of savings accounts for the grandkids, all that stuff. Let's get it all in one place so you can pull it up and see why it's all actually there, what it's doing for you. And again, it's in one spot. Some people, I can't even imagine how you go to all these different places to have a picture of what's going on with your life. So then once we get you all set up on this system, again, I create it for you. I teach you how to use it. I also make sure that you have some emergency calls. So 3 months down the line, you go, oh, Teshra told me about that, but I don't remember what she said. Let me give her a quick call. Then I also make sure that come see me in November. I get really busy in a few weeks here. Come see me in November and let me look to see what you did. Did you completely send QuickBooks Online off the charts, or are you my star, pupil, and I'm going to send you a nice big gold star? Let's see what you did, because the whole point is come December 31st, print out that profit and loss statement, print out that balance sheet, and you can give it to your tax person, your financial person, or whatever. And then also that check-in of, are you spending that 1 hour a week? So it's pretty simple. I look to see what you're looking for. I look to see what you have going on. And then we get you set up with what custom really, really works for you. I teach it to you. I have you so that I can check in with you, but then you also have a way to check back in with me, which is important because this is an investment. This is no different than setting up. It's almost like buying your first home. You buy your first home, you set it all up, everything's good. Then when you sell your home, you take that money, get something bigger, but you already have your foundation of what you want, what's working. It's a starting point, and you just kind of take it with you. And it can definitely, the system can grow with you. And then again, if you need it way, way more customized, whether or not for your real estate or you have more children or whatever is going on in your life, we can always go in and update that, but you already know how to use it. So
they could do it themselves. Yeah, you made a process simple, which I love.
Yes.
It's got to be, especially in finances, it
has to be simple. And that's what the irony is. If it's in one place, if it's customized, and if you know specifically how to use it with, again, only 4 or 5 things, not 15, 20, 30, or 40, I'm talking for like one hand, then you're more apt to use it. And then when you start to go, oh, I think I'd like to use it for this, or, oh, I think I have this question, give me a call and I can tell you, you can use it for that. You can customize it for this. So it is very, very simple. I mean, these are computers, for goodness sakes. They are computers. They learn, they do what you tell it to do. You can change it. I'm just a little mind boggled that more people aren't using this. Because when I go in my 1 hour a week, it turns into about 15 minutes a week. It's crazy. It's great.
Yeah, I was thinking that too when you said 1 hour. It's not always going to be 1 hour.
Yeah.
Especially what you do in your life. So share a story with a client you've worked with, because this is so simple and so cool. Give me a success story. I'm sure you have many of them.
Success story, I do. Let me think of one. Okay, I had one client who was very high up in a very large company. And him and his wife made a lot of money. They had 2 children, and he was very smart and savvy, but he was one of those who worked, the 12, 13, 14-hour days and on weekends, all that kind of thing, and was all doing it just because they needed to make money, and he loved to work, and that's all great and everything. But what was happening is that he was spreadsheets obsessed. And it was kind of great because everything went into these spreadsheets and it was wonderful. You could see everything and everything was great, but everything wasn't linked and it didn't have the framework that he wanted. So we literally took, I can't even tell you how many credit cards, banking accounts, spreadsheets he had. We stuck it all into one system, got it all reconciled so we knew that every penny was accounted for. And then he was able to go in and he was able to customize it to himself, not only to see the basics, but he got to add in his rental properties to see how much income was coming from all the rental properties, separately the rental properties, how much he was paying on the repairs and maintenance for the properties, how much his wife was spending, how much they were spending on eating out at restaurants. And I think that the success is that he was so organized and there was very little work involved once it was set up. And he was able to make these great decisions, but he was also able to validate the decisions he was already making. So for instance, they loved to eat out to dinner. And some people would look at that, spending 10 grand and a quarter on eating out at restaurants is absolutely absurd, right? That judgment. But they love to do that. They went out with friends, they got together with family members, they spent more time with each other by eating out. So for him, that was a huge, huge expense that was going up, but he absolutely loved it. And so we're not going to change any of that. There was a couple other things that he saw that he went, oh, if I just got rid of that, then I have all this money freed up. What can we do with this money? And in June, he was pretty much ready to quit his W-2 job because he had everything organized and he could see, do I stay with this large company or do I go? But I know that I can make the decision because everything is right here in front of me. No.
Teshra, that is so powerful. God, that is so amazing because stress and anxiety come with finances. You just took it away from them.
Yeah. And most people look at the paperwork or they look at the digital and they go, okay, I'm out. And they throw your hands up. And you do that enough times and pretty soon you haven't looked at your stuff for months, for years, and that time goes past. You could have been doing something different or something more that you wanted to do in that time frame instead of being frustrated. And even if you're a numbers person, this still can help you because again, everything is in one spot. It's almost like you create this wonderful filing cabinet and it's all put in there. And all you do is open the drawer. And instead of having to pull out 27 different pieces of paper, you pull out one and any information you need is just right there, depending on where you click.
We're getting to the end here.
Sure.
And I want to ask this question, mindset with finances. You seem like that's what you work. A big part of your business is that. Why is that so important?
I think mindset is so important because as we all know, when money is tight and it's hard to use, we struggle. But then again, when money is abundant and we have all this money coming in, a lot of times there's that stress of, if I had just been a little better with all of this money, maybe I could be somewhere farther along. Maybe I could retire 10 years early. Maybe I could go on a sabbatical for 6 months. Maybe, I could get another house for my kid, whatever it is. So I think you've got those two things, whether money's there or whether money's not there. And I think that I really believe that part of our stress about money is because we're not good stewards with organizing our money. We're not good stewards with giving our money out. And I think most people will tell you that when you give to somebody or something else that's greater than you feel so amazing. And, if I see my friend and her car just broke down and she's a single mom and she's got all these kids and I couldn't take $3 grand to buy her a used car, that kind of stresses me out and breaks my heart because I care about her. On the flip side, if you love your children, but you can't afford or you really want to build a house on your property, I mean, how great is it? A lot of people, I live in Bonners Ferry. So a lot of people come up here and the families all live together on one property, but they all have individual homes. How amazing is that to give your child a house that's all built, no mortgage, no nothing, give it to them. So again, I think part of the stress is not being able to what we want to do to give back, however that means to you, or not having enough money. And usually if you don't have enough money, you stress about making more money, but then when you do make more money, you get more bills. And so you're never really ahead. And that is just not a nice way to live. And there's so many different ways, like people will say, do Dave Ramsey, do Susie Orman, do this person, do that person. The bottom line is get it all organized, know what you have in front of you, and then you pick and choose the right plan that's going to help you at that particular time. And then that mindset, you kind of go, okay, I have a piece. I know what I have. I know what I need to work on. I know where I want to go. And that's very freeing when it comes to mindset.
So I'm going to add to your business card, and down below, you're a dream builder.
Oh, I love
exactly what you said. I mean, you
Thank
don't have to do that. I mean, if you do, I'd be excited. But that's what I'm hearing this whole 22 minutes or so is you're building dreams. And again, dreams are perception of that person.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
want to buy 5 homes or they want to give to their local charity or church. Again, it's your money, your personal money. You do what you want. You just help them guide it.
Absolutely.
Well, let's end with a great question I always end my shows with. You have a reservation at a restaurant.
Okay.
There's a table of 4. You're going to sit in one of those chairs, and the other 3 chairs, dead or alive, who would you invite? Why? And what food would you order?
Ooh, what food would I order? Probably French food. I'm very partial to French food. Lots of butters, lots of sauces. Yeah, definitely. Let's see.
So that's interesting. I got to add, you like rich food and you help people get rich. What a great
I love
thing.
it.
Just
I love it.
it's
I gotta
crazy.
take some notes. I need my pen paper. Dream builder, rich
Dream
food,
builder,
yes.
and yes,
I love
I'll
it.
remind you after.
There you go. Let's see. People I would love to sit down and eat with. I would have to say my grandfather. I only knew him till I was really small. And he was from the very mid of Florida, lived very meek, you know, we used to kill chickens and he built his house from scratch. And in fact, 2 years ago, I went back to visit it and it was a nothing house. But I remember they were so happy and it was just, they were content. And he was a carpenter and not like build mansion carpenters, just like a little carpenter. And my grandmother was a waitress. So I heard it from my grandmother's side, but I wanted my grandfather. My grandfather would be one. And then let's see, his name is escaping me right now. And I hate this. Who does the football, the Fox? Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw. I would love to sit down with him. Oh my goodness. He just exudes life. I think you could tell that man, you know what, you got 5 cents to live on for the next week and he'd be perfcly happy. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Terry Bradshaw.
That's a good one. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah. Who else? This might sound a little strange, but I'm going to say it because I would love to sit down with Kris Kardashian, because she's up at 4 in the morning running all of her companies, and yes, it's TV and whatever, but she's always coming back to her family. And I'm always amazed at how with the amount of money that they have, they should be shallow and not wanting to spend time with each other and holding grudges and not giving back. And they're always learning and they're always supporting each other. And I think it would be fantastic to say, give me the 5 life tips.
Yeah. And she's the business rock star in that family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because not people know much about it. The other, I can't forget their names.
They work hard. Okay, so they have my grandfather, Terry Bradshaw, Kris Kardashian, Jennifer Lopez by far, because she just exudes. She does whatever she wants to do. She's who she wants to be. She does who she is. And she's also, everybody knows she's an insane hard worker. It's not like she goes out there and she just bees and everything comes to her. Oh, she is a doer like nothing. And I used to be a professional dancer. So I've actually danced with a few people that she's danced with. And so I know that world of dance, and I would love to talk to her about what makes her just do her no matter what.
Yeah. She's a great actress too. I love when she's on movies, TV shows.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Teshra. It's such a cool way to talk about finances in such a different way. Mm-hmm. I know people listening are going, I got to talk to her. How can they support you and connect with you?
Yeah. So I have a phone number. You can text me. It's 619-604-4880. You can also reach me on my website, which is easy, teshradou.com or teshradou@gmail.com. So pretty easy. So, and then of course I'm on LinkedIn as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And her name's unique. So you'll be able to find it. I'll have some will be in the show notes for you too. As always, my call to action for you is subscribe to the YouTube channel. And here's why, especially with Teshra today, talking about personal finances, that's everybody. She's fortunate. Her client pool is huge because it's everybody above 18. So going back to it's so much easier when I've got about 20 channels I subscribe to, because I can see one and find that specific show easily. So that's one reason. But I think the more important reason, you're listening to this show and you go, my family friend or my sister or whoever needs to hear this, just take the link and send it to them.
Yeah.
They can learn all about her, learn about what she does, and learn about her really, really cool techniques, and then make an introduction or she contacts her. It's a powerful way of really serving people, because Teshra is serving people every day.
Yeah.
And as always,
me. Thank you for saying
and serving Teshra and serving Teshra too. That's what service is about. It's got to go back and forth. Christmas gift exchange, I call it. And with that being said, I love that. Teshra and me, we want to thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah.